Hi, it's Amy Chappell from Amy Rooney Designs here with a project for ThermOWeb. Today we're going to walk through the steps for sewing this rainbow heart zipper pouch. We are going to be working with Hash Dot Basics from Michael Miller Fabrics. You will only need little less than a fat quarter, well you need a lot less than a fat quarter of two different fabrics, your outside fabric and your lining fabric, and then scraps for the rest of your rainbow. So you can choose whichever colors you want. This is a great project for using up scraps, especially larger pieces that you want to use. You're also going to need HeatnBond fusible fleece, HeatnBond light, a zipper at least 8 inches long, and a 3/4 inch D-ring. Once you have all your supplies gathered, we're going to start by cutting our fabric. You will need to cut 2 pieces of your outside fabric and 2 pieces of your lining fabric, and you'll need to cut both of them to 5.5 inches tall by 7.5 inches wide. You're also going to need to cut 2 pieces from your lining fabric. One will be 2 inches by 3 inches, and the other will be 1 3/4 inches by 3 inches. And then you will need 2 pieces of your fusible fleece cut to 5 inches by 7 inches. I cut my fleece a little smaller than my fabric pieces for 2 reasons. The first is to keep some of the bulk out of my seam allowances as I sew. And the second reason is to make sure that I don't risk getting any of the adhesive onto my iron as I'm fusing it to the fabric. Once you have those done and cut out, you're going to head over to your iron. Now the first thing that you're going to do is take your fusible fleece and you're going to fuse it onto the back of your outside fabric. So you'll want to make sure it's centered, follow the package directions for steam and heat settings, and then take your time and fuse it well to both pieces of the outside of your pouch. The next thing you're going to do is do some pressing with these pieces here. You're going to press both pieces the exact same way. So I'm just going to show you. You're going to take your piece, and on this 3-inch edge, you are going to fold it in half and press it. And then it will look like this. And again, this is for both your 2-inch and your 1 3/4 inch. Next, you're going to open up that seam that you just pressed, that crease, and you're going to bring these 2 short raw edges into that line that you just pressed. So you can see the crease there. I'm bringing the edges of my fabric into the center, and then you're going to press it, and then you're going to refold that crease, and then you are going to press it again. So you would bring those into the center, press it, fold it again, and press it. Now on your 2-inch long piece, you will take this to your sewing machine and you're going to run a stitch, an edge stitch on both sides up the 2-inch long side of your piece and set that aside. For the piece that will be your zipper tab, you are going to take your piece, so it will have been pressed like this, and you are going to reverse this center fold. So you're going to fold it backwards the other way. Then you're going to take this to your sewing machine and you're going to do a 1/4 inch seam on each of these 2 short sides, making sure that you backstitch where you start and you stop. And then you will have a piece that looks like this. So you can see these are the 2 folded edges. These are my 2 raw edges that are now on the outside. You're going to clip your seam allowance on the 2 corners on where the raw edges are. And then you are going to take and turn this tab piece right side out so that your seams go to the inside. I find it's helpful to have a blunt turning tool to use to help push out those corners. And you want them to be as nice and square as you can. And then you will have basically a little pocket that when we get to the very final step of creating our pouch, will slide over our zipper and be a tab for our zipper so that it doesn't pull off of your zipper, the zipper tape. So you have your tab done. you'll have your strap for your D-string done, and you'll set those two pieces aside. Once you have those done, we're going to move on to our hearts. So let me bring over, there will be a pattern included for the hearts if you like. Your other option is to just cut small squares of your HeatnBond light and fuse it onto the back of your different colored scraps for the hearts of your rainbow. If you are doing that, then you can just freehand cut out the hearts however you like. If you're using the pattern, you will trace the different hearts onto the paper side of your HeatnBond light. So you can see there's the shiny side and the paper side. And I just wrote a little letter on each of these to remind me what color they were going to be. Then you're going to cut out each heart separately, leaving a small margin. It doesn't have to be pretty here. And then you're going to fuse it to the wrong side of your colored fabric for your hearts. You'll cut out each heart right along your drawn line, and then you will peel this paper backing off of the back of each of your hearts. So you can see now there's a shiny side to my heart. That means that the adhesive is on the fabric and ready to go. Once you have all of your hearts cut out, you're going to take them to the front piece of your outside fabric. You're going to line them up 3/4 of an inch. The top one will be 3/4 of an inch from the top of your outside fabric, and 1 3/4 inch from the edge. That is if you're using the hearts from the pattern. If you're doing your own hearts, you just want to choose a line to line them up on however you like it. And again, you do not have to follow this. You can do it however you want. Line up your hearts. They should be 3/4 of an inch from the bottom as well. Fuse them in place and stitch around each one. When you're ready, you're going to attach your zipper. I find it's easiest to unzip your zipper all the way, place it face down, and line it up with the top of the front outside piece. Then you are going to fold up this loose end of the zipper tab up to the metal point and pin it out of the seam allowance. And then you're going to measure 1 inch from the edge of your fabric over and mark it with a pin. Next, you're going to take your lining fabric and you're going to place it right sides together on top of your outside fabric and your zipper. Line up the top and the edges and pin it well into place. Then you'll take this to your sewing machine and stitch using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. When you come to this pin that is 1 inch from the edge, you will stop sewing, and with your needle in the down position, you will lift up your presser foot. So it's going to be coming at you like this. Your needle will be down right here at this pin, and you'll lift up your presser foot, and then you're going to pull this zipper out of your seam allowance. So you can see that it is not going to be in my seam allowance anymore. I'm going to make sure that my lining and my outside fabric are lined up, and then I'm going to finish that 1/4 inch seam down through the end of the front of my fabric. So once you have that done, you can see right here where this is the front of my fabric, and you can see how my zipper is not fully attached in that top seam. Then you're going to press both your outside fabric and your lining away from your zipper. And then you will repeat for the back outside piece. You want to just make sure that you're lining up these metal tabs. So I will line up this side of my pouches first. Then I will line up my zipper tape, make sure that my tabs line up. Then I will pin this edge, measure 1 inch from this side. And then again, I'm going to place my lining fabric on top, and I'm going to sew with the 1/4 inch seam allowance to this pin, pull my zipper tape out, and then finish that seam. Press them both away, and then we're ready to finish our pouches. Once you've pressed the second side away from the zipper, you're going to take your pouch over to a flat surface. I fold up the lining from the front so that it's up away from the front of your pouch, and then you'll fold over the rest of your zipper tape and pin it to the front of your pouch. This will just keep it out of the way and keep it from getting caught in any of the seams as you sew around your pouch. Next, you're going to take your D-ring strip and fold it in half and slide it around your D-ring. And then I pin it 1 inch down from the seam where the front hits the zipper. And I usually put 2 pins in place just so that my strip stays nice and perpendicular to the side of your pouch, because if you only put 1 pin in, it can shift a little bit and then it ends up being a little bit crooked as you sew around your pouch. Once you have that done, you're going to fold down the outside of the back of your pouch, and then you'll line up all 4 sides of your zipper pouch. You're going to pin these really well, making sure all your sides are lined up. As you do, you're going to fold the seam allowance from your zipper towards the lining of your pouch. And I like to pin them to make sure that they stay facing the right direction. And then you're going to start at one end where this pink pin is, so around all 4 sides, and stop where the second pin is, so that you leave an opening in your pouch so that you can turn it right side out. And you will sew that using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. One thing that I do like to do as I'm sewing around all of my sides is that when I am sewing over where this D-ring is, I will back stitch at the beginning and at the end. If you put a wrist strap on here and then you have anything heavy in your pouch, you're going to be pulling on it and tugging on it, and so you want to make sure that that's reinforced to hold that strap in really well. Once you have it sewn all the way around, you're going to clip all 4 corners of your pouch so that you can get nice sharp corners. And then, this is really important, you're going to reach in and you're going to pull out the pin that you have holding the end of your zipper to the front of your pouch. You will thank me, because if you forget, it can get a little painful. You'll turn it right side out through that opening, and then you'll push all of the corners out. Again, I like to use my blunt turning tool. Push the corners out. I will press this front outside really well. Then you're going to fold under the seam allowance of the opening on the lining where you turned it and stitch it down with an edge stitch. You can use a ladder stitch here and hide it, but it's going to be at the bottom of the inside of a pouch, and I usually don't worry about that too much. Once you have that hole closed, you're going to push this lining inside of your pouch and make sure that it's nice and flat and even. And then you'll take it to, I usually take it to my iron and press really well around that seam one more time, and then take it to your sewing machine and top stitch right along where the fabric meets the zipper all the way around your pouch. Once that's done, I'll close my zipper, and then this is where I'm going to get my tab for my zipper and a good pair of scissors. And usually what I like to do is just sort of measure and line up the bottom of my tab with the edge of my zipper. Make sure that it is lined up so that I'm cutting a nice straight cut, and then I will trim across my zipper. Then you're going to take and slide your zipper inside of this tab. So you'll notice that I'm putting the zipper on top of the seam allowance to kind of help hide that seam allowance a little bit. And I'll push it on there all the way until I can fill the zipper tape at the end of the tab. I will center it a little bit to make sure that it's nice and even on the zipper tape. And then I will pin it in place. I'll take it to my sewing machine, and I will sew around all 4 edges just because that's the look I like, or you could just sew across this bottom seam right there. And then your zipper pouch is all finished.